Good morning. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset, where we're reading Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, a few pages at a time. This morning's pages are 162 to 165. Let's get started, shall we? Bottom of 162. As these lines are being written, I look up from my work and see before me, less than a block away, the great mysterious Broadway, the graveyard of dead hopes, and the front porch of opportunity. From all over the world, people have come to Broadway seeking fame, fortune, power, love, or whatever it is that human beings call success. Once in a great while, someone steps out from the long procession of seekers, and the world hears that another person has mastered Broadway. But Broadway is not easily nor quickly conquered. She acknowledges talent, recognizes genius, pays off in money only after one has refused to quit. Then we know he has discovered the secret of how to conquer Broadway. The secret is always inseparably attached to one word: persistence. The secret is told in the struggle of Fannie Hurst, whose persistence conquered the Great White Way. She came to New York in 1915 to convert writing into riches. The conversion did not come quickly, but it came. For 4 years, Miss Hurst learned about the sidewalks of New York from firsthand experience. She spent her days laboring and her nights hoping. When hope grew dim, she did not say, "All right, Broadway, you win." She said, "Very well, Broadway, you may whip some, but not me. I'm going to force you to give up." One publisher, the Saturday Evening Post, sent her 36 rejection slips before she broke the ice and got a story across. The average writer, like the average in other walks of life, would have given up the job when the first rejection slip came. She pounded the payments for 4 years to the tune of the publisher's no, because she was determined to win. Then came the payoff. The spell had been broken. The unseen guide had tested Fannie Hurst, and she could take it. From that time on, publishers made a beaten path to her door. Money came so fast she hardly had time to count it. Then the moving picture men discovered her, and money came not in small change, but in floods. The moving picture rights to her latest novel, Great Laughter, brought $100,000, said to be the highest price ever paid for a story before publication. Her royalties from the sale of the book probably will run much more. Briefly, you have a description of what persistence is capable of achieving. Fannie Hurst is no exception. Wherever men and women accumulate great riches, you may be sure they first acquired persistence. Broadway will give any beggar a cup of coffee and a sandwich, but it demands persistence of those who go after the big stakes. Kate Smith will say amen when she reads this. For years, she sang without money, without price, before any microphone she could reach. Broadway said to her, "Come and get it if you want, if you can take it." She did take it until one happy day, Broadway got tired and said, "Oh, what's the use? You don't know when you're whipped, so name your price and go to work in earnest." Miss Smith named her price. It was plenty. Way up in figures so high that 1 week's salary is far more than most people make in a whole year. Verily, it pays to be persistent. And here's an encouraging statement which carries with it a suggestion of great significance. Thousands of singers who excel Kate Smith are walking up and down Broadway looking for a break without success. Countless others have come and gone. Many of them sang well enough, but they failed to make the grade because they lacked the courage to keep on keeping on until Broadway became tired of turning them away. Persistence is a state of mind. Therefore, it can be cultivated. Like all states of mind, persistence is based upon definite causes. Among them, these. A. Definiteness of purpose. Knowing what one wants is the first and perhaps the most important step toward the development of persistence. A strong motive forces one to surmount many difficulties. B. Desire. It is comparatively easy to acquire and to maintain persistence in pursuing the object of intense desire. C. Self-reliance. Belief in one's ability to carry out a plan encourages one to follow the plan through persistence. Self-reliance can be developed through the principle described in the chapter on autosuggestion. D. Definiteness of plans. Organized plans, even though they may be weak and entirely impractical, encourage persistence. E. Accurate knowledge. Knowing that one's plans are sound, based upon experience or observation, encourages persistence. Guessing instead of knowing destroys persistence. F. Cooperation. Sympathy, understanding, and harmonious cooperation with others tend to develop persistence. G. Willpower. The habit of concentrating one's thoughts upon the building of plans for the attainment of a definite purpose leads to persistence. H. Habit. Persistence is the direct result of habit. The mind absorbs and becomes a part of the daily experiences upon which it feeds. Fear, the worst of all enemies, can be effectively cured by forced repetition of courage. Anyone who has seen active service in war knows this. Before leaving the subject of persistence, take inventory of yourself and determine in what particular, if any, you are lacking in this essential quality. Measure yourself courageously, point by point, and see how many of the 8 factors of persistence you lack. The analysis may lead to discoveries that will give you a new grip on yourself. I'm stopping because, wow, that was good stuff. Good morning, Kissy. Good morning, Eric. Good to have you with us. Seat is open. Somebody wants to jump in and talk about the reading related to persistence. It can be cultivated. I love that. Omar.
Hey,
welcome, Omar.
Welcome. Thank you. That was an excellent reading, and I enjoyed it, and I am full of persistence and enthusiasm as I go out this day, knowing that things always work out for me if I just continue. That if I can look up, I can get up, no matter how many times I get knocked down.
Do not stop.
That it's going to be all right. Actually, that we know what it is that we're supposed to do, that there is an infinite intelligence that's intrinsic in us. And if we just go forth confidently, knowing that we're going to serve our greater good, that the answers we need, no matter what happens, like when we fall or get down, that, we need to know that it's for our strength and just keep moving on. And it works out every time.
So it happens that way. I'm a believer now, having read a bit of the book and discussed it the way we have and things that have been happening. And I can look back over that when those times when I was successful in achieving something, is that you're right. Keep moving forward with the plan that you had in place and with the vision ahead of you of why you're moving forward. I think that is the combination that makes it successful. What do you think?
Yeah. Again, like with the person about the book, that she got knocked down, she was told no, but she didn't stop. See, I think persistence is the answer. That's what's been missing. Persistence is the answer. We all fail. We all make mistakes.
Give up too easily.
We're all, it's just part of the natural occurrence of things. There's going to be some downtime. There's going to be some things that we're not expecting. But, it's only our tenacity to move forth with the confidence that I'm going to do this because this is what God's will is for me, is my own will for myself. So I'm fearless. I'm going to make it happen because I know that there's a power inside of me greater than that's what's outside of me.
Oh, Omar, you are so awesome and inspiring. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks a lot. God bless you. So are you. I love you. I love everybody. Take care. Have a great day. Everything works together for our good. Just keep forth. Just stay confident and do what you want to. We're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy life. We're here to do God's will because you know that God's will for you is your own will for yourself. That what you like, that what you want to do is God's will. Do it and be happy. Make it a good day. Peace.
All right, Omar. Good morning, Matt.
Good
Is it
morning.
Matt or Matthew? Which is your preference?
You can do Matt. That's fine.
All right. Welcome, Matt. Good to meet you. You've not
Yeah,
been here before. I'm glad to see you. What are your thoughts? Please share.
yeah. I'm a big fan of leadership images because I have this journal, and whenever I think about fear or I think about courage or persistence or things, sometimes you can take that concept and you can make it concrete in some way, and then better able to explain it. So what I was thinking about was persistence. A lot of people think that patience is sitting around and doing nothing, but a lot of patience is persistence because you are doing the necessary work in the moment until your opportunity arises in order to get something done. So that's something that I got out of that while I was looking at it. And just being able to form habits with your persistence. I mean, I think I said I read The Power of Habit. We're around 40% habits throughout our day. It's easy to let old habits overpower the new ones. And the other thing people love to say is old habits die hard. Well, old habits don't really die. They're just overridden by other habits, greater habits that are more influential and positive in terms of your ability to do these. Like this in the morning before I go to work is perfect, right? In the morning, have my bowl of cereal, come on here, talk about persistence, and then start my day. So this is like a habit of reading in the morning or just doing some sort of thing that can get me on track in terms of thinking about. My mom's read this book too, so
Terrific points.
awesome.
Love those. So, patience is not inactivity.
Exactly.
Patience is persistence at work. Because if you're continuing to follow the plan and taking action toward your goal, is that what I heard you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can sometimes. There's another thing that I thought about. Some sort of quote I heard somewhere. It can take one time to succeed, one time to make a small step forward in terms of your success, but it takes your entire life to fail if you sit around and do nothing. So
Like that. Yes, very nice.
you
I
keep that
like.
persistence up, that opportunity eventually could come, and you could meet that person, or you could get that offer, or something could happen that could definitely grow your network, or do whatever works to what your desire or want is.
I like that. Seats open if somebody wants to join me and Matt here and participate in the discussion about persistence. So, Matt, what did you think about some of the things, not some, but persistence being a state of mind, which you so eloquently put as it relates to patience, because you're still doing something and moving forward, and the habit replacing. Napoleon Hill outlines that if you really want to accumulate riches, if you want to accumulate wealth in terms of money, as well as in terms of great growth within yourself, these other things need to be in place so that persistence can make a difference. So he's talking about know what you want in the first place, have the desire, self-reliance, a belief in your ability to carry out your plan, an organized plan, that definiteness of plans, accurate knowledge, cooperation, willpower, and habit. And you've addressed habit. I'm just curious if any of the others resonated with you or brought thoughts that you'd like to share.
Yeah, I think that in terms of definiteness of plans, I think there's a tremendous difference between making plans in a mindset where you're always in the future and never carrying out the plan in the present, and then taking some time out of the present to plan ahead and then carry out those future plans. There's a lot of it's like a razor's edge between being able to plan something and carry it out versus always have your mind in the future and never in the present moment to get the work done. So the future belongs to those that can carry out plans right now in the present moment. You plan something ahead and you don't carry it out, your mind is always in the future. So that's something
I
that
like the way you clarified that. Nice. Very
another one. And the other book that I read by Jeff Olson was The Slight Edge. I don't know if you've heard of The Slight Edge, but he references Napoleon Hill in his book, and there are 7 slight edge steps, and they are very similar to these. The first one, there's one: have a burning faith and desire to grow. That's one of the things. Show up every day. Be committed. Those are part of the persistence. Half of it's showing up to what
Isn't
you
that
want.
the truth?
Yeah, you got to show up. Like you got to show up to class.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. It's something that always made sense to me. If you don't show up, you ain't going to get nothing. I mean, come on, you got to at least show up. It's the rest of it that stumbled for me and can get in my way. But you're right. The showing up is the first stop. Welcome, Ha. Do you want to join Matt and I?
Charlene. Good morning, Matt. Good
Morning.
morning, everyone. Okay, Charlene, imagine this. With the bullhorn, I'm on the rooftop. And I will scream out loud and I will say, I believe in you. I believe in that we have hope. Because if we're still in the game is not over. And that is the power of persistence.
Yeah.
And you know what he said is so eloquently, and I love that. And you repeat a few times there. That is habit or persistence, they are the state of mind, and anything is a state of mind that you can cultivate. And like Matt talking about the habit is not something that you get rid of, but you replace it. You know, there's some habit that you don't want to do it. You make a conscious decisions to replace with something else, you know. And somebody said that 21 days, somebody said 30 days, but I read something and I know that will be impressed into your, in your head, in your mind, that you need to have 66 days in order for you, you know, the habit become a part of you.
And it takes a long time. It takes like half a month or just about a month to even ingrain a habit in you using certain cues. The Charles Duhigg way of looking at habits is cue, routine, reward. So there's a cue for something, and what you have to do is you have to associate cues with different routines. So instead of like when I hear something, instead of like going to the refrigerator and getting a snack when I have a certain cue, I have to go, let me start exercising and then reward myself later on with what I've done. So it's cue, routine, reward is the loop with that.
You know, but the persistent also, you need to have something bigger or something is more promising for you to go toward. And I remember that Jim Rohn, the one said, don't set your goal too low, because if you don't need much, you won't become much. And so keep that in mind. You know, when you set the goal, set it big, because you already dream. Why not dream big and find a way to do it?
The devil's advocate argument, in support of that, is when you are learning new habits, it's very discouraging to set your goal really, really high when you make a new habit. Because if you go into, let's say I've never run before and I go to try to run a marathon and I don't even make it through the marathon.
But see, now you're getting into, you're totally skipping the 8 steps that Napoleon Hill just outlined.
Yeah, those steps. Yeah.
Everything he's outlining says that, which is why I think this is so valuable, is that Charlene can't just go from couch to 5K in 3 days.
Exactly.
There has to be a plan that makes sense that is going to get me there. And if it doesn't make sense, to be open to the cooperating with other people, to understand that I have to be flexible at times to adjust myself so that the end goal can be reached. You're absolutely spot on.
Having a goal, I think it's important. I also think it's important to have that plan. That plan's really, really important in terms of the time you're going to commit and the chunks that you're going to achieve. I think the end goal is something that we should always have in mind. I'm just focusing on the fact that what we do and how reality works, like you said, things are unexpected. That doesn't always match the mind movie in our heads, because the little child in our heads is always yelling at us and telling us that this isn't possible. So I guess what Napoleon Hill is focusing on is building a sort of self-reliance, and with all these steps of conscious self that's able to go against the reactive part of us inside of our mind. So that's really what these steps do for me.
And I agree, and I disagree with you, because I think that if you set your goal in the long distance, far away, but again, you do a dice and slicing it, you know, you will get one and then you will make it like a stepping stone, and then, you know, you can jump higher and higher.
Absolutely. Yeah. Setting a goal far away. That's perfect. Knowing what you want. The future belongs to those that live in the present moment to carry out the plan. So you can see it in the future, and you can take the necessary steps now. And that's definitely.
Well, that's why I'm all over what Matt's saying, because you all know what I think of the word dream. So, because dream is exactly as Matt had described earlier. That's something out here that, I can have it in 3 days. I can have it in 90 days. I can sit quietly and dream with all my might, and it's going to happen. And that's not the reality. But instead, having that out there and then outlining, or initially what started with me was I had the desire and I had the end goal in mind, but I didn't have a plan in place. But I am so solid in what I want my end goal to be that I knew that a plan would be revealed to me. So what it did was it opened my mind and said, the opportunities are now presented to me. Do they align with who I am and what my end goal is? Why, my goodness, they do. So it becomes part of the plan. And so the steps I've been taking over the years have been toward this end goal, and much more solid as I feel more targeted and focused on the plan that's truly in place now. There is an outline. It is there. The steps are there. The goal is big, much bigger than it was just a few years ago. I increased it because I realized it can happen. When I saw that, I said, it needs to be bigger. Now it's more of a reality, though, because before it was just a dream. Before I couldn't tackle it because it really was beyond my ability to think of it, beyond my imagination. Now I know it can happen. It's real. It's happening now. And it's because I'm focused. I know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and I have the steps in front of me to do. So yeah, that's, Matthew, what you were saying is much more grounded, which is what I'm looking for. And what helps me to keep moving forward is that grounding.
Yeah, and then the other thing I think about, when we talk about persistence, we talk about self-discipline a lot. And a lot of times doing something, there's like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Right. When we talk about persistence more in terms of self-discipline, persistence often means adapting to situations and still maintaining your goal and your want, but your how changes.
Correct.
And my favorite analogy with planning is often like a diving board into a pool. A plan can only survive for so long because you can't predict what's going to happen 5 years from now. So you don't know exactly how that plan is going to respond. So a lot of persistence is just adapting that plan to this current situation, the present moment, and then using that discipline to continue to work and work and work. That's why self-discipline cultivates the opportunities that you have, and not always just expecting things to happen or assuming this will happen or being disappointed when something you planned doesn't turn out the way that it did. I actually have to go make my lunch and go to work. So
okay. Well, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope to see you every weekday morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern time. Look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Have a good day.
Bye-bye, Matt. Hello, Eric.
Hey, good morning, Charlene. Good morning, Ha.
Good morning,
and boy, I tell you, what a couple of great. I mean, Matt, how old was that guy? He was phenomenal. He seems very young, and to have that amount of insight on personal action and goals and stuff like that. The only thing that I didn't like hearing that he said was that he was going to work. What's a guy like that going to a job for?
Exactly.
I mean,
you caught that too. I'm like, yeah. Let's hope in the next few weeks we see a big change happening.
21.
He may have. Hey, now wait a minute. So let's bring it back to he may have his end goal, and for right now, whatever work he's doing is part of the plan to reach that end goal. Right? So it could
agree.
Be.
I agree. And maybe maybe he really loves his job. That's really great.
Again,
too. There's
it's
a lot
each
of
individual, right?
Yep.
All right. So Eric, talk to me about persistence. Well, then, yeah.
Sure.
And then wait a minute. And then we have Chuck who jumps in and says, it could be he runs a multi-million-dollar national corporation. You just don't know. That's what I love about social media is you just don't know. Okay.
You just don't know. I mean, if Matt is going to want to be a 9 to 5 worker, the only place I want him doing that is for me.
Well, all right then.
I mean, I'll hire a guy like that in a heartbeat. You know, everything else being the same, because with somebody with that level of insight at that young of an age is just, I guess, really encouraging to hear that. So great there, and Omar too. Omar, I just came online when Omar. I was like, preach it, brother. I mean,
He's been feeling it the past couple of days.
Yeah. So, well, couple of things I guess I would add to this, or just kind of accentuate, is, you're talking about persistence, and this is, Napoleon Hill does cover this in his steps. Maybe he doesn't use this terminology, but we talk about iteration, or setting that goal, and then being focused on that goal, but also not being locked into the process that you believe is going to get you there.
So the tactics aren't nearly as important as having the goal and the plan, and then the persistence to get it, right?
Right.
So it's the tactics. That's what I'm hearing you say, the tactics.
Absolutely. And okay. I think in the day and age that we live in, the flexibility is a trait that is more important. I mean, things, used to stay stable for 10 years, say in business operations. Things used to be stable for 5 years. Things used to be stable for 1 year. And now if your weekly or daily mindset is not one of, what needs to change, what needs to iterate, what needs to get better as far as my process, then, you quickly get left in the dust. I think, the goals is very, very important, but let me just, I guess, use an extreme example to illustrate. Back in the days of, the buggy whip product, right? There's, back in Napoleon Hill's days, there was buggy whip manufacturers. We don't have many horse and buggies these days. And if somebody, woke up this morning and was extremely focused on becoming the best buggy whip, business in the world, the reality is they need to iterate, I would think, on that, or, bring back the horse and buggy industry. But I guess my point is that somebody like that can go month after month, year after year, decade after decade, being, passionate about their buggy whips. And I'm not going to fine tune this and say, hey, they could get into the buggy whip business for somebody, the buggy whips for some sort of nostalgia or something. I'm talking about the old.
No, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm going to throw this out there. There was a time not too long ago when people said vinyl was dead, and in actuality, vinyl records.
Vinyl. Yeah.
And in reality, the manufacturing of vinyl records, the manufacturers fell to the wayside. It was reduced. If I remember correctly, it was reduced to one that did it on a mass scale. There were still one or two that did it in smaller quantities, but there was still just one manufacturer left that was doing it on a large scale, and they just refused to give up. And now vinyl's making a comeback. Just throwing it out there. I don't see that happening with cassette tapes, but it was just.
Yeah. I think that's a valid, there's, we can slice and dice this and look at some of the things. I think, one of the things
quit.
that
I'm sorry, my favorite poem just showed up. Sean, that's my favorite poem. Don't quit.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but what you're saying there, Charlene, I think is a very good takeaway. Say that an industry does get shook up, like the vinyl record industry. Maybe if somebody does have a passion for that and does have that determination, a lot of times what happens is all the other, in this case, competitors fall by the wayside. Maybe there were 100 vinyl record production companies, and 99 of them give up or quote unquote iterate into CDs or MP3s or something like that. And the one that sticks with it now has 99 competitors that have gone away. So yeah, we can slice and dice it. I agree with that. And, we've seen that happen in certain industries. I think the other thing I would kind of jotted down a note here is, and I personally can take both sides of this, as you probably can too, Charlene and Yuha, and that is on the subject of passion, because with persistence, which is what Napoleon Hill is talking about in this morning's readings, one of the things that makes persistence easier is if you have a passion for it. If I think about what I do on a daily basis, somebody might look at me and say, wow, Eric, you really have persistence. And I guess that's true, but I love what I'm doing.
Right.
So, because I have that passion, it's easy to be quote unquote persistent. Now, the contrarian, or the other side of that, I like what Mark Cuban, I've heard him say, if anybody watches Shark Tank, I heard him say once to a wannabe entrepreneur, he says, passion is overrated. He says, don't follow your passion, follow the money. And I do agree. I understand his point. He's a very kind of a bombastic type of.
But that's not much different than what Napoleon Hill is talking about. I mean, we giggled a bit about outdated technologies.
I think it's both things.
But if we have a desire and we have all the things that we see where there is a need for our personal services or for what we do, because he's talked about up to this point about marketing your personal services, there's got to be a need there first. This isn't about let's make a new industry or bring back an old one or if you want to do that, that's okay. You can use these principles. I'm not going to do that. I'm doing well to grasp the principles and put them in place of this is the desire for my business, and these are the steps that I should take for myself so that my business can grow. How's that?
Yeah.
Doing what you love and doing what you do well. That's another one. Hi, Andrea. Good to see you here.
Just to agree with Mark Cuban for a moment, because again, I'm like you, Charlene. I can take both sides of this topic and argue passionately for both sides of it.
Sure.
On one side, the importance or the value of having a passion about something, because it allows you to work harder than other people in that same arena that don't have a passion. Put me up against. I'll put it to you this way. Put me up against somebody that's quote unquote just doing their job every day, 9 to 5, but does the same thing. They don't want to be there. They're just doing it to meet the minimum standards. They're just doing it to please their boss. They're just doing it to get a paycheck. They're just doing it so that they can, put their 30, 40 years in and retire.
Correct.
Put me up against that person doing the same thing that I do, and I'll blow them out of the water.
Well, it's completely different. Again,
yeah, because I wake up thinking about things. Passion is important, but to argue for Mark Cuban, and again, the context was he was dealing with this someone that wanted venture capital from him, and they were not listening to him, where he said, look, you've got a good business here, but you've got to kind of go in this direction. And they were fighting him on that. And they said, but I'm passionate about this. And he was saying, don't follow your passion, follow the money. And
you can still be passionate, but where are you going to direct it?
Yes. And I think my takeaway from that is, and this is my personal experience, if somebody asked me, with what I make my bread and butter in, as you know, Charlene, I have a business that's a metal roofing business. Okay. If you would have asked me when I started that business, am I passionate about metal roofing? No. I'm not passionate about metal roofing, quite frankly, even now. I'm passionate about what passionate about operating that business. I do have a joy in it, and I believe in the product and stuff like that, but this is not save the world type passion. I'm not out curing cancer or something like that really gets a lot of passion. I enjoy it, but I never woke up out of bed and said, wow, one of these days I want to start a metal roofing business. But to Mark Cuban's, to argue, to hit, and what I think people should take away from this, and I'm getting a little bit impassioned myself, because something that kind of drives me crazy sometimes is when people get all too kind of like dreamy about things.
Oh, well, you know me. You just hit my button. Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to tell them, look, passion and dreams and goals, extremely important. But God darn it, get to work your tail off. And one thing, like, let's talk about this metal roofing business. It's gotten me money and it's gotten me time. And I want to accentuate that time part, is that if you have money and time, then you're more free to follow things that maybe you have more passion about. I'm speaking to you here today. My background is probably a little different than normal. I'm at our cottage on Lake Michigan. That comes from time and money. I'm able to come up here yesterday on a Thursday to spend time thinking, doing things that I like to do. And so I think for people, if even like Matt, if he's going to work today and making money and, working a process to get himself time, it's like somebody asked him, they said, if you had $10,000 today and you decided what to do with it, what he said he would do, presuming he had a job, he said he would quit his job. He would use that $10,000. Let's say he made, say $2,500 a month in his job. Let's just pick a number. He said he would use that $10,000 to buy him 4 months of free time to apply his thinking to what he really wanted to do and work his plan. Time is underrated. People underrate time. And if you've got to just work hard in business to create money and time, then go to work on even greater things, I think that's a good path to pursue. Okay, that's my preaching for this morning. Sorry about the rant.
Okay, Eric. Good stuff. Good stuff. Ultimately, it comes down to having a burning desire, a definiteness of purpose. You want to know what you need to know what it is you want, the end goal, what you're working towards. And whether it's reasonable or unreasonable isn't really up for me to determine for you. It is up to me to determine for myself. And then I have that desire. And one thing that tripped me up for many years was that belief that I had the ability to carry out a plan. So that's what would trip me up when it came with the dreams versus the grounded plan. Because sometimes, and I can, private conversations, I can point out where I walked away because I didn't believe I had the capacity. I didn't believe I could actually do to reach my end desire. So when that came into play for me, it's different today. Definiteness of plan, being organized with it, accurate knowledge. And I think it goes to what Eric is saying, guessing instead of knowing. If that to me says, I really want to be the best buggy whip maker in the world. Go for it. You can do that. I want to be the richest buggy whip maker in the world. Well, the market's pretty small, comparatively speaking. Competition is limited, so that's possible. And I want to make great riches being the best buggy whip maker in the world. It's a whole different story. So it's definiteness of purpose. It is clearly defining what is it that I'm going after to be able to determine if it can happen. Got to be clear on that first. Just my thought. All right, we've got a lot of comments going on in the side. So we got Chuck, accomplishment raises your self-value worth, which is really what we are all often. Oh yeah, you got to take some action and actually experience winning or attaining something before you can feel better about yourself. Action changes the feelings. There's nothing more valuable than time. Hourly worker just doesn't seem to get that. That's that mentality. It's what you do with each hour. Success, the ability to have options. Depends. It's, definition of success for each individual, right? I know that when one is limited in your time, it can limit your appreciation for it. Yes. I think that goes to, if I have nothing different to compare it to, then I can't appreciate what I actually have. If I don't have something to compare it to as better, worse, different, anything like that. And Sean, key takeaway from today's reading is persistence is a state of mind. Therefore, it can be cultivated. Oh, yes, 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 yes. That's what really stuck out at me when I first read it and started reading ahead to see how far I would read. It is a state of mind. We can cultivate it, and it's based on definite causes among these, which are the pieces that are laid out. Definiteness of purpose, desire, self-reliance, all the way down to willpower. The habit of concentrating your thoughts on the building of plans. That's what I like, is that he clarifies all of this. He puts it into definable and definite words that you can't do one without the other. Like you were saying, Eric, you can't do one without the other. You can have the passion, but woohoo, I can be passionate sitting in a chicken coop.
When you're talking about
right?
time and money, if you have the situations, and most people will call that as a problem, if time and money can solve that situation, you don't have a problem.
That's good.
But both are.
Yeah, what I have to say that what Eric said is so profoundly, because you're so honest. Because you said you don't have a passion to the metal roofing, and perhaps that is the truth. But there is a, I'm not trying to analyzing you, but there must be a hidden something in there that is, you must have a passion running a successful business, because that the benefit not just to you, to the people you love, for the people who work for you. And again, making money is important, because when you're making the money, you can invest back into the company or what you do to improve and to give them better services. And I don't know who said, I think that Stan Bush or something. He's, the money is just almost like a driver, but the passion is a 8,000 tons elephant. If they are in line, then, the engine can going, and the elephant didn't hold the resistance. They can go longer, further. But then, if you have a driver, you keep on driving, but the elephant said, I'm sit down, because that's what, then you have some problem, because you are the driver, you are the engine that who cannot possibly carry or pull the 8,000 tons of elephant behind. So that's why money and passion, it must be in sync, because the driver have somehow to convince
for the greatest success. Yes.
Yeah, and
that's what I'm hearing say, for the greatest success.
And I think a couple segments ago, Charlene said, what you want is great, but again, the question is what you're willing to give for what you want. And it doesn't matter how big or how high the mountain you're climbing, but knowing that that take a lot of effort. If you want to go into the high mountain because the slope is so steep, you need to put in a lot more effort. But the view is spectacular. It is so awesome out there. So that's why.
But then too, can't you take that as well and say that the price that I have to pay in order to attain what my definite purpose is and what my plans are in place to get, the price I pay is less time with family sometimes, is less time with friends and the fun stuff that I'm exchanging, because there's a transaction that has to occur. I have to, by my being focused, I'm saying no to a lot of things in a positive way. It doesn't align with who I am and what I'm working towards. Then there's also the times where it's easy to get distracted because it's difficult to say no. Because at the moment, whatever's in front of me, it just seems so much nicer than what I'm going through right now. I'm struggling, whatever it is I'm struggling with, it's on the path towards, right? But so something's in front of me and it doesn't align with who I am and what I'm working towards, but boy, it sure is attractive, sparkly object syndrome, where it says, it'd be so much easier just to go this route right now. And so we can get derailed if we don't have that habit of being focused, of having that purpose. I've been reading mine every day, twice a day, as we all know, because I tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
to cultivate that persistence so that we can't. It's easier to say no. Maybe that's where I'm trying to get
to do and not to do is really contribute to your success. For instance, if my goal is to get into somewhere, and my lifetime goal, I might have a list of over 100 things that I need to do. I'm not doing 100 things at a time, but I will do, everything every day in order for me to know that I'm on the right track. But if anything that somebody suggested or something, if I know that take me off my track, I will say no gracefully. I would just say, okay, if not fit in with my plan, I will say no. Now, Napoleon Hill is a very, very smart man. Sometimes you have to read between the line, because what he said, he didn't try to tell you that blindly follow him, but what he suggested, you need to elevate your awareness, because life happens. You need to elevate your awareness, and if you see something, embrace it, adapt it, or let go. Because I don't know who said that. They said let go or be dragged, or you embrace it and go with it.
So embrace, adapt, let go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
I'll share that with everybody. Okay.
Yeah. I think, Charlene, a number of things that you commented on, and on how you as well, of course. But Charlene, you mentioned about like staying focused, saying no to things, the shiny object syndrome, and stuff like that. That's so true. And I will say, if people don't learn that, that sometimes they need to, particularly for short bursts of time, say no to things, stay focused, stay on a very singular mission. If people don't learn that in their pursuit, they might be put in a position where they have no choice but to be focused. And again, I only know my story, so I'll just speak to that. There was a time, my business now as if everything's glowing and stuff like that, and it's good, and I enjoy these times. But I will tell you, I've had very humbling times too. I had a time not so many years ago where partly economy, partly my own decisions to I took my eye off the ball. And it was at the financial crisis time as well, where my business was very scary. And when you're looking at your bank account and you need money. Okay, this seems to be a topic of money. I keep bringing up. I'm actually not that focused on money, but
that's the whole point of the book, is to grow rich. So
yeah, that's true. But when you see your account going down and down and down, and like an airplane going, spinning out of control towards the ground, I saw literally a point, and I'll be transparent on this, where my business banking account and my personal banking account was, we'll just say, in the 3 digits.
Lower 3 digits. Been there.
Lower 3 digits.
Yep.
I'm talking, and
thank goodness for neighbors who will invite you over for dinner, right?
Right.
Yep.
I'm talking like pump gas at the gas station. You're hosed up after the pump shut off to get those last drops in there. Okay.
Oh, heck, I still do that.
Okay. Yeah. And one of the things that I guess I'm grateful for those times. Well, first of all, I'm grateful to be the heck out of there. I'm not one of those that says, oh, that adversity was wonderful. I mean, I'll take my lessons from it, but one of my lessons is I never want to be around that again. It was horrible. My options were limited. Yes, you have to keep an open mind and focus and learn during those times. But I'll tell you what I guess I learned, and to your point about shiny objects, when it was that dire, when in days, I might not have had weeks, in days, that plane could auger into the ground. And, it would be, business would be over. I'd have to, I don't know what I would have done, but it was that close. I had no choice but to be extremely focused. If there was a shiny object that came into my view, I had no choice but to ignore it. If I had somebody ask me to do something, I had no choice but to say no. And because I had no choice, I say I had no choice. I mean, it was so evident to me that I could not say yes to that person's request, that I could not follow that shiny object. Every moment that I could be functioning in a productive capacity, I had to be doing something that was going to start getting this plane back up into elevation, or else it was going to crash. And thank goodness, through focus, incredible hard work, saying no to everything, there was, and just, quote unquote miracles that happen, that seem to happen, when you're so focused, you're so clear on what needs to happen. I had a customer, this has never happened since and never happened before this. But I will tell you, when I was I want to say $140 something in my business banking account, I had a customer, and this is a seasonal business, and it was during a season, I think it was early spring, where, things were going to get better as, the season warmed up. But at that moment, I needed money, I needed business, and it wasn't the high point of the season. And I'm working every lead, every prospect, everything that I can do. And I had a customer contact me. I saved the email. I saved all this stuff that, quote unquote, out of the blue, quote unquote, miracle, emailed me. We had done a small job for them a couple of years prior, and they emailed me and said, we would like you to do our house. It was about, we'd already given them an estimate. I think it was around $15,000 or $18,000. And they asked if they could give me, if it was okay for them to pay in cash. And I mean, I've never had, everybody writes a check. I'm talking like greenback cash. I'm talking like walk out of their house, tucking it in your shirt because, you don't want anybody to know that you've got, $9,000 in cash on you. Well, I got to tell you, I ran, I did not walk to the bank to get that into the account. And that breathed some life into the sustainability of my business. And I was able to, buy a few things, gain a little time. And so I guess my point to what you've said many times, Charlene, and I think it's so true, is if you truly need to accomplish something, whether you're forced to, like I was, or whether it's because of your goals, you've got to be prepared to say no to things. You've got to be prepared to say, stay focused. You've got to be prepared to toss aside, when these shiny objects come in, because if you don't, you will find yourself in my position where you might not like it. You might not like that level of pressure. But if you haven't learned the lesson, life will force that lesson upon you. And it did me. And I never want to be back there again. But I'm grateful for the lesson. I'll say that.
I can go with that. I had those lessons myself.
Eric,
and there's
Charlene, I had to laugh because I actually work in the roofing industry. I am a production manager, and I go in there as a consultant, and I work with the CEO and everything. And boy, what you said is so true. And sometimes that they pay cash, and you said, or you can negotiate with them, let them do the job of the season, and you give them the 5% off or something. Boy,
Right.
you have to do whatever because you don't want your guy to leave you and to go somewhere else when you have the roof to do it. They are no longer there. Oh, I love you. Oh, great. Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's fabulous.
Yeah.
So we're at the top of the hour, so I want to close the recording out. I can keep the room open another 30, 45 minutes without any difficulties in my schedule. So I encourage you to stay with me. Just going to close out for the recording, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. I want to thank everybody who has joined me in the live stream. That's Ha and Eric and Matt earlier. And thank those in the comment area for bringing some great insight into what we read today. Let's move forward with the day on purpose with purpose to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until